Imagine standing at the very center of the world's knowledge. Your lectures draw scholars from across continents. Your words shape law, theology, and public life. Your salary rivals that of ministers and generals. In today's world, you would be a celebrity academic, a best-selling author, a trusted voice on every platform. In the 11th century, he was Imam Abu Hamid Al-Ghazali, and one day without warning, he lost his voice. That silence would change history. Al-Ghazali was born in 1058 CE, into a world both brilliant and fragile. The Islamic civilization of his time was the engine of global progress. Paper mills powered education, trade routes connected China to Europe, cities like Baghdad rivaled modern capitals, and sophistication markets thrived. Gold diners circulated rapidly. Merchants financed caravans that crossed deserts and seas. But prosperity carried anxiety. Political power was unstable. Scholars were sponsored by rulers. Knowledge was increasingly tied to money and influence. It was an age asking the same questions we ask today. Who controls knowledge? Who benefits from wealth? And what is success really for? Al-Ghazali's story begins far from power. He was born in Tus, to a poor but deeply spiritual family. His father left no inheritance, only a prayer that his sons would learn. That prayer carried weight. Al-Ghazali's mind was razor sharp. He mastered debate, law, and theology with startling speed. Under the great scholar Imam Al-Duani, his talent became impossible to ignore. By his early 30s, he was no longer chasing knowledge. Knowledge was chasing him. At just 34 years old, Al-Ghazali was appointed head professor at the Nizamiya College in Baghdad, the most prestigious academic institution of the Islamic world. Think of it as the intellectual capital of the planet. He taught before packed halls. His opinions influenced rulers. His income ensured comfort, security, and status. By every outward measure, he had won. Yet inwardly, something began to fracture. Al-Ghazali began asking dangerous questions about himself. Was he teaching for truth or for applause? Was his knowledge worship or performance? Then his body intervened. He lost his ability to speak. Doctors searched for a physical cause, but Al-Ghazali recognized a spiritual one. His soul, he later wrote, was choking on sincerity. In an era when scholars clung to patronage and prestige, he did the unthinkable. He walked away. From wealth, from influence, from Baghdad itself. Disguised as a traveler, Al-Ghazali spent nearly 10 years wandering. Damascus, Jerusalem, Mecca. He lived simply, observed society quietly, and reflected deeply on money, its power, and its danger. He reached a conclusion that still unsettles us today. Money is not evil, but it is never innocent. He compared wealth to fire, useful when controlled, destructive when left unchecked. He noticed how money altered people's values, how easily ethics bent under financial pressure. In our time, we see it in corporate scandals, influencer culture, and endless consumption. Al-Ghazali saw it in markets that exploited the desperate and scholars who softened truth to please patrons. Al-Ghazali argued that every transaction is a moral act. Cheating the skill was not cleverness, it was oppression. Price manipulation was not strategy, it was injustice. Profit was allowed. Exploitation was forbidden. He warned against hoarding wealth, believing money must circulate like blood. When wealth stagnates, society sickens. Centuries before modern economics, he understood something profound. When a small elite accumulates excessively, instability follows. He criticized luxury, not comfort, but excess. Luxury, he observed, dulls gratitude. It fuels endless desire. It replaces contentment with comparison. In modern terms, he was warning against consumer culture, the idea that identity comes from what we buy. For Al-Ghazali, wealth was not a reward. It was a test. The richer a person became, the heavier their moral burden. Eventually, Al-Ghazali returned to not as a conqueror of debates, but as a guide of souls. He wrote Ihya Ulum al-Din, the revival of the religious sciences. It reconnected law with spirituality, economics with ethics, knowledge with humility. His work reshaped Islamic civilization. Some later historians would say, if Al-Ghazali had not lived, Islam itself might have fractured. He died in 1111 CE, quietly in his hometown. No palace, no fortune, only a legacy that refuses to fade. Al-Ghazali lived nearly 1,000 years ago, yet his question still confronts us. Are we using wealth, or is wealth using us? In a world driven by accumulation, visibility, and profit, his life reminds us, true success is not what we gather. It is what we guard: our conscience, our integrity, our soul.